Do you know that just as Jesus Christ sacrificed his life in the Bible, so too did the brave men of the Asante Kingdom, sacrificing everything to gain freedom for their people. With the unwavering support of their great spiritual leader, Okomfo Anokye, and the legendary king, Nana Osei Tutu I, this story is one of the most captivating and heroic tales from the Asante Kingdom. It is a saga of valiant warriors and steadfast chiefs who fought against all odds to break free from the oppressive rule of Denkyira. In this compelling narrative, we delve into the remarkable courage and strategic brilliance that defined the Asante struggle for independence. The Asante warriors, equipped with traditional weapons and unyielding resolve, faced overwhelming challenges. Yet, under the visionary leadership of Nana Osei Tutu I and the mystical guidance of Okomfo Anokye, they triumphed against their powerful adversaries. Black Stories brings you the details of this incredible journey, highlighting the sacrifices, battles, and ultimate victory that forged the Asante nation. Join us as we explore how these brave souls, through unity and indomitable spirit, secured their freedom and left an indelible mark on history. This is the story of the Asante's fight for freedom from Denkyira, a testament to their enduring legacy and unbreakable spirit. Osei Tutu I was the son of Nana Manu Krutuawisi, a niece of Kwamanhene Nana Oti Akenten, and sister of Nana Obiri Yeboah. He succeeded Obiri Yeboah to the stool of Kwaman, making him Obiri Yeboah's nephew and heir. His father, Owusu Panin, was an elder of the Kwaman kingdom. Manu Krutuawisi married Owusu Panin of Abrenkese, Nameani, and they had several children, including Nana Osei Tutu I. The descendants of Nana Manu Krutuawisi became the royal Oyoko clan of Kumasi. Manu Krutuawisi and Owusu Panin were initially childless and sought help from the god Tutu of Berekuso in Akwapem, then part of the Akwamu Empire. They sent messengers to King Ansa Sasraku of Akwamu, requesting Suman Tutu's magic liquid medicine. After consuming the medicine, Manu Krutuawisi became pregnant and gave birth to a boy named Kofi, later renamed Osei Tutu, in honor of Suman Tutu. Osei Tutu I received a royal education, learning from his father and uncles about nature, spirits, God, Nyame, festivals, taboos, and combat skills. According to F.K. Bois, the Denkyira state rose to power during Nana Boa Amponsem's reign. When Osei Tutu I was young, his uncle sent him to the Denkyira court to serve as a page. He was trained in traditional leadership at Nana Boa Amponsem's court, where Okomfo Anokye served as the sorcerer and visionary. It was customary for heirs of vassal kingdoms to serve as pages at the Denkyira royal court for both training and security. While Osei Tutu I was at the Denkyira court, Nana Oti Akenten, the king of Kwaman, died and was succeeded by Nana Obiri Yeboah, making Osei Tutu the first next in line for the Kwaman throne. Osei Tutu the first left the Denkyira royal court when tensions arose between the Denkyira and the Kwaman and Amansi ethnic groups. Another reason for his departure was impregnating Ako Abena Bensua, Nanaboa Amponsem's daughter. She sought help to conceive, leading King Nanaboa Amponsem to invite Okomfo Anokye to Denkyira to assist her. Okomfo Anokye came and predicted that the princess would have a son, but that he would bring ruin to the Denkyira Empire. Nanaboa Amponsem's main concern at that time was to have an heir, and was not bothered about the ruin the heir would bring to the Denkyira Empire. Under Okomfo Anokye's direction, Osei Tutu I gave the fetish Ekumasua to Ako Abena Bensua, and fathered the boy who was to be born to Ako Abena Bensua, his lover. Ako Abena Bensua's husband became suspicious and began to ask Ako Abena questions about her conception, so Ako Abena Bensua advised Osei Tutu I to flee from the palace and the town to escape the consequence of his intimate affairs with the sister of the king of Denkyira. Osei Tutu first fled from Denkyira to Kwaman, and then to Akwamu, where Nana Ansa Sasraku welcomed him with open arms. His sojourn in Akwamu was a great blessing for the Asante in the following ways. In addition to the knowledge he had acquired at the Denkyira royal court, Osei Tutu I also learnt about the institutions and military organization upon which Akwamu's strength and greatness rested. Okomfo Anokye also joined him at Akwamu for his personal reasons. The two were therefore united once more, this time at Akwamu, and became permanent friends. The priest later accompanied him to Asante and became his great advisor, guide and prompter in times of peace and in war. Osei Tutu I had a further opportunity to study another political system, that of the Akwamu. While at the royal court of Akwamu, Osei Tutu I learnt that his lover, Ako Abena Bensua, had given birth to a son who was named Antim Jakari. Antim, who brought down the kingdom of Denkyira and destroyed it, as Okomfo Anokye had predicted to King Boa Amponsem. When Nana Boa Amponsem was called to eternity, he was succeeded by Nana Bosianti. Nana Bosianti continued the great work of his predecessor, Nana Boa Amponsem, as the overlord of the states around him, even up to Elmina, and had in his possession the papers of the Elmina castle. Therefore the governor of the castle paid yearly tribute to Denkyira. When Nana Bosianti passed away, he was succeeded by Nana Ntim Jakari, who, according to legends, was believed to be the son of Osei Tutu I, his mother being Ako Abena Bensua. Osei Tutu the I's uncle, Nana Obiri Yeboah, also died, and Osei Tutu I was summoned to occupy the vacant stool at Kwaman as Kwaman Hene. He set off from Akwamu with an escort of 1,000 warriors commanded by Anum Asamoah. They carried a quantity of Danish arms and ammunition from Christianborg Castle at Osu in Accra. To this day, flintlock muskets, still used by hunters in the Asante forest, are called Dane guns. It is challenging to pinpoint exactly when guns were first introduced to Asante. However, oral tradition suggests that around 1580, the Asonahene at Ofinso commanded about 300 gunmen. A century later, when Osei Tutu I was returning from Akwamu to become the chief of Kwaman, there were 77 guns to protect him. This raises two questions. How did hunters kill large game like elephants and buffaloes? Were all conflicts fought solely with swords and shields? Between 1600 and 1700, it is likely that guns were purchased from the coast for hunting, as hunting had become a significant occupation, leading to the establishment of villages and towns. Chiefs with armed hunters would naturally use their services in times of war. The use of firearms in conflicts at Amakom, Kase, Tafo, Bojasango, and in the Kumawu campaigns against Ataara Firam is well documented. Traditions from Dorma and Kumasi confirm that the second and subsequent wars between the two states were fought with guns. The era of Osei Tutu I marked the significant use of guns in Asante warfare. Before the Second Dorma War, Okomfo Anokye established a village called Ashirensua, now the site of Wesley College Practice School, where Asante warriors trained in jungle warfare and shooting. Anokye's son, Ajapa, was the chief of this village. The Fayasi War was notably a gun battle. During his journey from Akwamu to Kwaman, Osei Tutu I fashioned a crown from the skin of an elephant's elbow and the head of a kingfisher. Upon arriving in Kwaman, he claimed his inheritance, presided over Nana Obiri Yeboah's funeral ceremonies, and was installed as king 8 days later, wearing his kingfisher crown. Osei Tutu I, in a russet-brown mourning cloth, approached the elders of Kwaman State, the Mpine, with his face smeared with red clay, and walked under a small umbrella, which was later taken away. The linguist Ochiame of the Kwaman State then spoke in the ancient words, "When a sickle breaks, we put in a new shaft. Today, your uncle lay down and did not rise again, Odaye, Wansori, so we have brought his sword to you. Today, the Kwaman people consulted together, and they say you are their choice. They declare we must give you the stool of Oti Akenten and Obiri Yeboah." The chief of the bearer of news sprinkled white clay on the new king Osei Tutu I's shoulders, and the people shouted. The new king greeted everyone. Then he stood before the elders, and drawing the afena, the sword, called Bosom Muru, he swore to govern well, seating himself on the state stool on the right hand of the queen. He was decorated with the kingly regalia, and after that it was the turn of the other chiefs and elders to swear allegiance to him. Proudly, Osei Tutu I held high the kingfisher crown, which became known as Denkyira, and which has been worn by every Asante king during installment. The new king began to use the name Osei Tutu, and a new era began. During the installment of Osei Tutu I, he pledged to his people that he would take up the huge task of uniting the Asante states. He was helped by the great priest and chief of Agona, Nana Okomfo Anokye. Osei Tutu I and Okomfo Anokye were installed at the same time. Osei Tutu I as Kwamanhene and Okomfo Anokye as Agonahene in their respective towns. Osei Tutu I succeeded his uncle Nana Obiri Yeboah, and Okomfo Anokye succeeded his brother Okomfo Yamoah. According to oral tradition, a meeting of the chiefs of Asante states was called by Nana Osei Tutu I of Kumasi before the chiefs could disperse to their various communities. It was now the psychological moment to produce the greatest miracle of all, which would bind the Asante states into one enduring nation. The main agenda was to unite under one of the chiefs present. His stool would be greater than all the other stools, and any chief installed by any of the states was to swear the oath of allegiance to him. The old question of who would be chosen resurfaced. At this juncture, Okomfo Anokye explained that the problem would be solved by the ancestors and the gods. He would pray to the ancestors and the gods. At the end of the prayers, the ancestors and the gods would bring a stool from the skies, and the chief on whose lap it would descend and relax would be the chosen chief. According to oral tradition, a festive Friday Fofie was chosen as the day they would meet for the gods and ancestors to choose their king for them. When they decided on the day, they were told by Okomfo Anokye to fast and pour libation to their ancestors and the gods until the chosen day. They then dispersed to their various states. In 1695, at dawn on the appointed festive Friday, Fofie, Osei Tutu I summoned all the chiefs and elders of his alliance to the great meeting. Crowds responded to the invitation by the talking drums, each chief waiting to be the king-elect. Osei Tutu I sat on his new stool on the Python Mound, under a huge scarlet and golden state umbrella. He wore his richest kente cloth and his golden regalia, and sat in majesty in the center of his court. Nana Osei Tutu the First's gold regalia ornaments on his arms were so many that he had a little boy on each side to support his arms when he moved. On his head was his self-made crown, Denkyira chair. Beside him was his queen. The chiefs of other Asante states and Asafo companies also sat in state facing Nana Osei Tutu the First. The atmosphere looked calm. Okomfo Anokye, shaking as usual, appeared amidst the crowd and began to dance in the open space in front of the royal mound as drumming continued. While Okomfo Anokye was dancing, a huge cloud descended, hovering around the assembled people. The earth shook, and a rain of white pebbles fell onto the crowd. After some magical dances, he paused, jumped around, and began to conjure something from the sky. A sword, believed by some legends to be the Bozomuru sword, fell from the sky, and Okomfo Anokye caught it reverently with both hands and held it in the air. Drumming resumed, and the priest continued dancing and conjuring. The sky grew tense, and a deafening noise was heard. To the astonishment of the crowd, a gold stool came out of the sky and descended onto the lap of Nana Osei Tutu the First. Okomfo Anokye took the gold stool, made some incantations, and handed it back to Osei Tutu the First, saying, "Take this and keep it. It is the embodiment of the soul, unity, and greatness of the Asante nation." This became the famous Golden Stool, Sikajua Kofi, of the Asante nation. It signified that Osei Tutu the First had been chosen by the ancestors and the gods as the unquestionable king of the Asante nation. As the king held the golden stool, Sikajua Kofi, on his lap, Okomfo Anokye took small collections of hair and pieces of fingernails from every chief and queen present. He burnt them into ashes, mixed the powder with a concoction in palm wine, some of which was drunk, and the rest was smeared on the golden stool. All the states forming the union collected their black stools, put them together, and burned them, symbolizing that the spirits and cosmic powers of the departed chiefs had all joined together and entered the golden stool. This ceremony bound the people of Asante and their chiefs together in a common cause. After the event, the Asantes were ready for the Denkyira state. Okomfo Anokye told them that the golden stool, Sikajua Kofi, contained the spirit, Sunsum, of the Asante nation. The potion they drank meant that they had sworn to the gods, taking an oath to unite and not remember their past individual histories. The golden stool is so sacred that no one is allowed to sit on it. It is kept under strict security and taken outside only on exceptional occasions. Each Asante citizen must defend the golden stool whenever enemies try to capture it, as losing it would mean the collapse of the Asante nation. The golden stool is made of pure gold, standing 18 inches high, 24 inches long, and 12 inches wide. The stool is never allowed to touch the ground, always placed on a blanket. It is so sacred that no one has ever sat on it. A new Asante king is lowered and raised over the golden stool without touching it, and no one can be a legitimate ruler of the Asante Kingdom without the golden stool. Nana Osei Tutu the First took the oath of allegiance to the golden stool and the chiefs present, and each chief in turn took an oath of allegiance to Nana Osei Tutu the First, pledging never to raise arms against the golden stool. This marked the beginning of the Asante Kingdom, with Nana Osei Tutu the First being made the first king of the Asante Kingdom. Nana Osei Tutu the First led the people from Kwaman to settle in the area where the great meeting was held. This area was subsequently named Oseikrom, meaning Osei's state, before it became Kumasi after planting the famous Kum tree. Osei Tutu I was regarded as the best king of the young Asante nation, which was emerging as a future star. He needed a new capital that would symbolize victory, political success, and greatness. Kumasi thus became the new capital. According to oral tradition, Okomfo Anokye planted 3 kum trees at different places. One at Kwaman, ruled by the Nananom Ayokofuo, another at Adomako Bankafo, ruled by Nananom Adwanafuo, and a third in a village near Fomena and Amoafo called Oboani, ruled by Nananom Ekwornafuo. The kum tree at Kwaman flourished and became a large tree under which the king and his people often sat. Hence, Kwaman became Kumase, meaning under kum. The tree at Oboani was small and did not grow much, leading to the village being named Kuma, meaning small kum. The kum tree at Adomako Bankafo did not grow at all, and the village became known as Kumawu, which later changed to Kumawu. Upon ascending the Golden Stool, Osei Tutu I did not immediately confront the Dorma. Instead, he focused on consolidating his states through intermarriage, arranging marriages between his royal house and the royal families of various chiefdoms. His sister's daughter married the Amakomhene, and Osei Tutu I married the Queen of Kase and others from royal households. This strategy aimed to secure alliances and stabilize the region. Osei Tutu I married powerful women from abroad, including Nana Amaserwa, Akyems, and Nana Bempoma, Denkyira, women with wealth and influence. This diplomatic marriage strategy continued with his successors, such as Opoku Wari I, who married Nana Bwadua Tiri from Akyems, helping him in his campaigns against the Kotokus. After the creation of Kumasi, Osei Tutu I's next big step was to free Asante from their bondage to Denkyira and open the way to the European castles on the coast for a permanent supply of scarce commodities, powder, and guns. Before he could implement his plans, the Dorma state, close to Asante, rebelled but was defeated. In the second year after Osei Tutu I was installed, Okomfo Anokye toured Asante extensively, familiarizing himself with the problems of each place and contacting every Berempon. Soon after, the war against Dorma began. Okomfo Anokye blessed those who showed kindness and cursed those who were unkind to strangers, and his pronouncements are still remembered in those places. Having studied Asante and met different chiefs, Okomfo Anokye advised Osei Tutu I to establish 3 important security posts before the Dorma War. The first was Bekwai, where Osei Tutu upgraded the Bekwayene to an Oberempon with the title Amanse Peramire to strike at any disturbance. Bekwai gained admission into the Amantuo Num, replacing Kokofu, which was annexed to Kumasi as the younger brother of the king. This move prevented the Adansi state from allying with Dorma in the impending war. The second security post was Mampon. Mampon was urged to move to a new area with the name Kontonchi Obu a Ehi Akuma, meaning the mighty stone that wears off the felling axe. Mampon was made next in command to Osei Tutu I to check any disturbances from the northern sector. Afijuase did not move with Mampon, but was to cooperate with Juaben to monitor the eastern sector, especially Kumawu, which was related to Dorma. The Dorma state, against whom Nana Oti Akenten and Nana Obiri Yeboah had fought, still held villages close to Kwaman. Osei Tutu I's first task was to avenge the defeats suffered by the state from Dorma. In about 1698, The Dorma people were defeated and driven from Suntreso in Kumasi to their present abode in the Brongahafo region. The vacated area was divided among the chiefs of Kumasi. The Dorma state was annexed into the Asante Kingdom, and their king, Shereme Sikafor, was made the soul washer, Akrajuarahene, of Asantehene. This new strategy treated defeated states as brothers and sisters, giving their chiefs important positions in the Asante Kingdom. According to Osei Kwajo, the king's soul washer offers sacrifices on behalf of the king to pacify the king's soul. The Akans believe every individual has a divine soul superior to the human body, which can become sick when aggrieved. Actions like abusing or beating parents, or a wife insulting her husband, can aggrieve the soul, causing sickness or death. To pacify the soul, mashed yam and eggs, or sometimes a cow, sheep, or hen, are offered. The offended person dresses in white, sits on a white stool under Nyame Dua, God's tree, speaks aloud the offense, pleads for pardon, and eats the remainder of the food with the family. The king's soul washer is crucial because he prays for the king's pardon from the soul, preventing the king's death, which would be a tragedy for the state. After Dormahene Cheremi Sikafor's death, his successor Nanakusi refused to accept the vassal position, leading to another war. This conflict pushed them to Abasem, then northwest to found the kingdom of Jarman, and finally to the Ivory Coast before returning to their present home. The next towns to rebel against the Asante Kingdom were Amakom, Tafo, and Ofinso, but they were all subdued by Osei Tutu I's Asafo companies and became part of the Asante nation. Juaben, Kumawu, Nasuta, Kuntunase, Bekwai, and other minor states had already been established. These small states, along with Mampong, were united in a loose alliance, subject to Denkyira, and paid tribute to the king of Denkyira. Mampong and others sent red clay, Juaben sent plantain fiber, and Kwaman, Osei Tutu's own people, sent firewood. Some Asante chiefs, notably in Nsuta, Juaben, and Mampong, pushed northwards into the hills, Manponku, after the collapse of Adansi. The once overlord of Denkyira, Adansi state, had been weakened by its wars with Denkyira. Adansi lost many warriors to the new states of Akyem and Asin and became subjects to Denkyira. Osei Tutu I aimed to address this situation. Osei Tutu I's next task was to wage war against their overlords, the Denkyira people. The Asante had long felt treated with contempt by Denkyira, dissatisfied with the commodities they were required to send every Akwasidai. Tasks like fetching firewood, red clay for house decoration, and plantain fiber for toilet use, typically done by women, were seen as insults when demanded of Asante men. Osei Tutu I utilized his experiences from the royal courts of Denkyira and Dakwamu to strengthen his administration, aiding in political and military organization. He united states of illiterates from various regions and, with Okomfo Anokye's help, built a professional army. This brought the divided Asante states together. The success of the Asante military was based on the philosophy imparted to the warriors. If you go forward, you die. If you go back, you die. Better to go forward. Osei Tutu I's new philosophy and creation of a military aristocracy fighting in Asafo companies under wing chiefs significantly strengthened the Asante Kingdom. Osei Tutu won his first victory against Dorma, evoking the power of Abusua, the divine blood of the clan, to solve the problem. He was of the Oyoko clan, as were many of the minor states, except Mampong, which was of the Bretuo clan. Although Obiri Yeboah had laid the foundation of the Asante nation, it was still unstable. Osei Tutu I managed to bring Juaben, Kumawu, Nsuta, Kokofu, Asumeja, Ejeso, and Bekwai under his influence. Despite being of the Bretuo clan, Mampong also came under his influence and became the second in command of the Asante army, occupying the Silver Stool. Osei Tutu I then learned of the great wealth of the chief of Seshwi Brumankoma. Following Okomfo Anokye's advice, he led the Asante army against Seshwi. They found a lot of European manufactured goods among the loot, including the great brass bowl of Bantama, known as Ayakese, used during rituals outside the royal mausoleum. This bowl was later captured by the British in the 1874 expedition in Kumasi and presented to an American institution by Lord Baden-Powell, the founder of the Boy Scouts. Seshwi became part of the expanding Asante nation, and their new king swore allegiance to serve Osei Tutu I. Despite his military successes, Osei Tutu I and the young Asante nation still paid allegiance to Denkyira. Determined to change this, Osei Tutu I vowed to stop the tribute and turn the fortunes of the two nations around. Osei Tutu I and Okomfo Anokye devised a plan that trapped Nana Boseanti, the king of Denkyira, who succeeded Nana Boa Amponsem. Using this as a pretext, they declared war, but before the war could be fought, the king died. His nephew Entim Jakari succeeded him, 1692 to 1701, marking the peak and decline of the Denkyira Empire. Entim Jakari ruled with pride and arrogance. Contemporary observer Bosman confirmed this, noting that Denkyira, elevated by its riches and power, became arrogant, viewing other Negroes as slaves. Everyone hated Denkyira and awaited its downfall. According to F.K. Bois, by 1699, the Denkyira Kingdom was at its zenith. Wealth and conquest brought pride and arrogance during Entim Jakari's reign. He annexed Asin, opening another route to the coast. At the height of his power, the Denkyira Empire commanded an area only to be surpassed by the future Asante Kingdom. Endowed with numerous advantages, Denkyira's power increased tremendously. However, as often happens in history, when a kingdom or an empire becomes wealthy and powerful, the rulers become tyrannical. This, along with other factors, led to the decline and fall of the empire, culminating in their decisive defeat at Fayase in 1701 at the hands of the Asante Kingdom, previously their vassal state. Entim Jakari, who succeeded the late Nana Boseanti, tried to make peace with Osei Tutu I, but his proposals were rejected. Osei Tutu I continued preparing for war. The long-term cause of this war was the Asante's desire to free themselves from Denkyira's oppressive rule and gain direct access to the coastal trade with European merchants. Meanwhile, Osei Tutu I, assisted by his great friend, priest and constitutional advisor Okomfo Anokye, sought a legitimate reason to launch a full-scale military operation. In 1699, fate seemed to intervene when Entim Jakari's actions made war inevitable. To replenish Denkyira's royal treasury, which had been depleted by incessant wars, Entim Jakari sent a contingent to the court of Osei Tutu I with crippling and humiliating demands. Abebrese, the leader of the contingent, was given a large brass pan to demand an increased tribute from the Asante chiefs. Osei Tutu I called a great meeting of all the Asante chiefs. Sitting on a mound, Okomfo Anokye had buried a python, which became the first royal seat in the Asante Kingdom. Abebrese delivered his insulting message, further inciting the Asante. The demands from Denkyira included sending the Golden Stool to Denkyira, because he was the overlord, dissolving their union as they did not seek permission before forming it, stopping their complaints against Denkyira, men who had affairs with Asante, women serving in Denkyira, as it was seen as a blessing to have children with royal blood, filling a large brass pan with pure gold dust and sending it back with double the usual tribute. Each chief cutting off one of his fingers to add to the gold dust, sending their favorite wives and their mothers to serve as Denkyira's wives. The Asante viewed these demands as a severe insult, especially the request for the Golden Stool and the cutting off of fingers, which would disqualify chiefs from their positions. The demand for their wives was seen as blasphemous and disrespectful. The Asante refused to comply with Denkyira's demands, and both sides prepared for war. Many non-Asante vassal states under Denkyira's oppressive rule, like Asin, supported Osei Tutu I. The chiefs were highly provoked, leading to a great outcry of, "We will not pay." Adakwa Yadom, the Juabenhene, struck the messenger Abebrese in the face, condemning the entire message and swearing vengeance. Each chief followed suit, and Abebrese was killed. The chiefs dipped their fingers in Abebrese's blood and swore to fight Denkyira to the last drop of their blood. The Asante preferred death in war to such insults. The brass pan brought by Abebrese was filled with stones instead of gold dust and sent to Denkyira as a declaration of war. The messenger's fingers were cut off and added to the stones, symbolizing the beginning of the conflict. The Asante were confident that their great priest and king of Agona, Nana Okomfo Anokye, would help them, as he had performed wonders during the Dorma War. Nana Ansa Sasraku, the king of Akwamu, also sent a contingent to support the Asante army. During the battle, the Denkyira proved formidable. When it seemed the Asante were losing, Okomfo Anokye called for a volunteer to be the first to die in the battle. Kwabena Kodua, the chief of Kumawu, offered himself for sacrifice. His death ensured victory for the Asante. Nana Osei Tutu I's new war strategy divided the Asante warriors into flanks. The army was organized into four main groups: the advanced guard flank, Twafuor; the main guard flank, Adonten, under the commander-in-chief and bodyguard, Adantenhen; the left flank, Benkum; and the right flank, Nifa. Additionally, there was the rear flank, Chidom. The advanced guards were led by the scouts, Akyems Rafur, originally chosen from hunters. Their task was to locate the enemy without striking the first blow and report their findings. They were followed by the Inkotokrofo, who used long sticks to disturb the thickets and provoke the enemy to waste their ammunition. The advanced guard, led by the Chwafogeni, then moved forward, preceded by gunmen whose weapons were loaded with powdered juju. The main body of the advanced guard would engage the enemy initially, paving the way for the main guard to follow and engage in the substantive battle. The war general was always positioned in the middle of the main guard, making it difficult for the enemy to defeat all the men and capture the general. Before going to the war front, Asante warriors swore an oath to the king and the people to always push forward and never retreat. Retreating was considered disgraceful, and those who ran away were humiliated, given derogatory names, and treated as women. Chiefs and kings who retreated faced distulment, and any returning warrior could have sex with the retreated man's wife. The humiliated men could not even dance to certain appraisal music or use prestigious warrior names. Those who retreated also received sword marks on their foreheads and were further humiliated. Chiefs among them were destooled. Due to this, Asante warriors preferred to fight and die in action rather than retreat and face disgrace. The Asantes believed death is preferable to disgrace. During the war, the general dispatched men to support flanks facing strong resistance. Each flank divided its men into 3 groups: those to fire first, those to fire second, and those to follow. This ensured continuous firing on the battlefield. When the first group finished firing, the second group would advance and continue, followed by the third group. This strategy ensured that firing never ceased on the Asante warfront. The Asante employed various strategies to induce the enemy to waste ammunition, such as creating trembling thickets. They used camouflage, lying low to shoot, and other tactics. This earned them the sobriquet Kotoko, meaning bend down and fight, inspired by the porcupine's fighting acumen. Their appellation became Asante Kotoko, Wokum Apem Apem Beba, meaning Asante, the porcupine warriors. If 1,000 are killed, 1,000 will come. To avoid friendly fire, drums and horns were sounded on the battlefield, helping warriors locate their chief or commander and receive encouragement. The sounds also struck terror in the enemy's hearts. Trees were felled across rivers to serve as bridges, and rope supports were constructed over larger rivers to aid the army's crossing. When all was set, the chief swore to Nana Osei Tutu I to always push forward and never retreat or surrender. In Asante war preparations, priests played a significant role. They engaged in magical displays to predict war outcomes and called for volunteers to be sacrificed to ensure victory. Okomfo Anokye assured them of victory if 3 men gave themselves up for sacrifices. One would be buried alive, holding brass pans of war medicine for the warriors to bathe in. The second would be butchered and his flesh thrown for vultures to carry to Denkyira land, causing the enemy to lose bravery. The third volunteer had to be a paramount chief, armed but forbidden to shoot, leading the soldiers. His death would ensure Asante's victory. The volunteers were Nana Asenso Kofo, chief of Ajumakasakese, who was buried alive; Nana Dikopim I, chief of Ejeso, who was butchered to death; Nana Chweneboa Kodua, paramount chief of Kumawu, who led the soldiers and was killed without firing a shot. War drums and horns sounded across the Asante Kingdom, signaling the declaration of war. After the purifications, preparations and rituals, Nana Osei Tutu I wanted to personally lead the Asante Kingdom as war general and commander-in-chief against Denkyira. However, Okomfo Anokye prevented this, explaining that although the Asante would win the war general would not live beyond 7 days after the victory. Mamponghene Nana Boahen Anantuo volunteered to lead the Asante army. Nana Boahen Anantuo commanded the various independent units. Confident of victory, Antim Jakari stayed in his tent, playing the Awari game with his general commander's wife, instead of being on the battlefield. Nana Boahen Anantuo requested that, as he was taking the place of Asante Hene as war general, his stool should be next in importance to that of Asante Hene. Since Asante Hene occupied the Golden Stool, his state was granted the Silver Stool, Juete Jua. Okomfo Anokye's prophecy that the war general would not live more than 7 days after the war came true. Nana Boahen Anantuo sustained bullet wounds during the war and died 3 days after the victory. His body was carried to Asante Mampong for a befitting burial. He was succeeded by Nana Akwamoa Panin, the first Mampong Hene to sit on the silver stool. The first 3 volunteers also made requests. Asenso Kofo asked that no one from his town, Ajumaka Sekese, should ever be sacrificed in any form after his death. Nana Dikopim I, chief of Ajeso, requested that no one from his Asona clan should be sacrificed in any form. Nana Chweneboa Kodua requested that no one from his state, Kumawu, should ever be sacrificed in any form. Additionally, they requested that whenever a drummer from any Asante state started drumming on the Atumpan drums, their appellations should be sounded to remind future generations of their sacrifices for the Asante nation. The Asante warriors carried durable food like fried corn flour and ground pepper, supplemented with fruits and other edibles found in the bush. They wore leather bags called apirechua at their waists, containing essential items such as gunpowder containers, danka, wads, otosa, flint, achwerabor, bullets, aboba, tinder, mafahu, and asaja, and matches or indigenous lighters, boroja. The warriors also had small cloths for night cover, homemade drugs, or juju, and toileting materials. They slept on raised bamboo platforms or in huts if the campaign was prolonged. Young people, Asansafur, carried the fighters' luggage, and brave women supplied the men with drinking water. Before going to war, several rituals were performed to boost the warriors' morale. Medicines were bathed in or drunk, and cooking the war was a common practice. Special war herbs were placed in a pot of water with stones representing enemy captains, cursed, and added with gunpowder and bullets. The pot was boiled, and if the gunpowder grains remained undissolved, it was seen as a sign of inevitable victory. Chweneboa Kodua led the advance guard while Boahen Anantuo served as the war general. Okomfo Anokye was at the war front, providing magical antidotes. The battle was fierce, but the Asante nation's determination led to their victory. Initially, Denkyira Entim Jakari had the upper hand, but the tide turned. In 1701, the Asante inflicted a decisive blow on Denkyira at Feyasi, routing their forces. The main Asante army met Denkyira forces at Feyasi, between Kuntenase and Kumasi. Dwaben troops surrounded Ntim Jakari, who was adorned with golden fetters, and took him prisoner. He was brought to Kumasi, tried, and executed. The war continued for some time until the Asante Kingdom finally gained independence from Denkyira. Denkyira's defeat at Feyasi led to the disintegration of its empire, with many vassal states asserting their own independence. According to R.S. Rattray, Ntim Jakari's body was divided as follows. His head was given to the Asante Hene, his left leg bone to Asinjeje, right leg bone to Mampong, and the vertebrae to Juaben. These three stools were permitted by Kumasi to copy Ntim Jakari's regalia. Among the war spoils treasured by the Asante were the skull of Nana Ntim Jakari and the brass pan sent by the king of Denkyira to collect gold from the Asante kings. The Asante warriors carried their victory into Denkyira proper and ransacked its capital, Abankasiso, in mid-1701. They enslaved many of Denkyira's best craftsmen and employed them in making weights in Kumasi. The war left an indelible mark on Denkyira's history, encapsulated in the saying, Ntim Jakari carried his nation and wrecked her at Feyasi. This catastrophe, which occurred on a Friday, gave rise to the Denkyira oath, Fiadani Denkyira. The Agona clan brothers, Akyems Oda and Boyasango, assisted their senior brother Denkyira in the war, leading Asante Hene to initiate a divide-and-rule policy among the three clan brothers. Akyems Oda Hene was placed under the Ananta Hene of Kumasi, Bojasango Hene under Dadeso Hene, and Denkyira Hene under Bantama Hene, reducing Denkyira's supremacy. Legends say thousands died in the fierce battle between the Denkyira Empire and the Asante nation. After the war, the remaining Denkyira men, members of the legendary cavalry, impressed Nana Osei Tutu I with their bravery and swordsmanship, leading him to spare their lives. These Denkyira warriors were incorporated into the Asante military to strengthen it. After defeating Denkyira, Osei Tutu I annexed the surrounding Akan states, including Wassa, Seshwi, and Juifo, but not Akyem. The Akyem state, founded by a branch of the Denkyira royal family, took actions intended to provoke Osei Tutu I into war. They offered asylum to Ntim Jakari's successor, Boadu Akafo Berempon, who had rebelled against the Asante Hene and supported the restoration of the Trifo Hene, deposed by the Asante Hene. They even promised to aid the Fante people, where the Trifo Hene had sought refuge, in the event of an Asante attack in 1712. The Asante nation needed to control the rebel states before waging war against the Akyems. Bantamahene Amankwatia, the commander-in-chief of the Kumasi army, was sent to subdue Trifo and other rebel states. Trifohene was killed, and by 1714, Trifo and Denkyira had returned their allegiance to the Asante Kingdom. Amankwatia was urgently called to Kumasi in 1715 to deal with the Akyems who were frustrating Osei Tutu I in battle. In 1717, Opemso Osei Tutu I led Asante troops into Akyem. Initially underestimating the Akyems, the Asante rear army decided to withdraw Osei Tutu I safely back to Kumasi. Unfortunately, while crossing the Pra River, he was shot and killed by the Akyems. According to oral tradition, his best friend Okomfo Anokye had warned him not to fight against the Akyem people, but Osei Tutu I, angry at their stubbornness, refused to listen. Anokye did his best to persuade him, but to no avail. Another story suggests that Okomfo Anokye supported his campaign, but could not foresee the outcome, highlighting the limitations of human power and the inevitability of death. The mighty tree fell, literally meaning Odupon Kesai Atutu. Mamponhene Akwamoa Panin took over the command and was later replaced by Amaniampon as regent until Nana Opoku Ware Katachie I was enthroned as the second Asante Hene in 1720. Nana Osei Tutu I died in 1717 at the age of 72. According to Professor Adu Boahen, after Nana Osei Tutu I's death, Denkyira Hene Boadu Akafo Brempon resolved to take revenge on Asante, but the Asante army quickly quelled the insurrection. According to Osei Kwadjo, the chiefs who planned the Denkyira wars included Nana Osei Tutu I, king of Asante, Nana Chweneboa Kodua, chief of Kumawu, Nana Boahen Anantuo, chief of Mampong, Nana Adakwa Yadom, chief of Juaben, Nana Onomapau, chief of Asumeja, Nana Kofi Jua Ayeboafo, chief of Bekwai, Nana Ajemanempomphi, chief of Kokofu, Nana Oduro Panin, chief of Nsuta, Nana Wiafe Akenten, chief of Ofinso, Nana Dikopim I, chief of Ejeso, Nana Krobia, chief of Tafo, Nana Okomfo Anokye, chief of Agona. The two most important wars waged by Nana Osei Tutu I were the Doma War and the Denkyira War. The defeat of Denkyira earned the Asante nation the documents on the Elmina Castle, previously held by Denkyira. To this day, Osei Tutu I is revered as perhaps the greatest ruler of the Asante Kingdom. His reign was a landmark in Asante history, uniting independent small states into a strong kingdom under one king. He organized the nation on military bases, grouping the states into various war flanks, and built Kumasi as the capital. During his reign, the Elmina Castle became the property of the Asante nation. Many laws governing the Asante Kingdom were established during Nana Osei Tutu I's reign. With Okomfo Anokye's help, he instituted the special annual festival, the Ojwira, likely copied from Denkyira. During Odwira, all Asante kings assembled in Kumasi to renew their loyalty to the Golden Stool and the Asante Hene, confirming their solidarity. Nana Osei Tutu I laid a solid foundation for the Asante nation, but gave too much freedom to conquered states, allowing their chiefs to rule instead of appointing ambassadors. This policy led to rebellions, such as the one raised by Nana Boadu Akifun, the chief of Denkyira, who succeeded Entim Jakari. Nana Osei Tutu I had to send his army to reconquer Denkyira just a year after the First War. The bravery of the Asantes continues to be an inspiration. They are like reggae music without Bob Marley. Impossible to imagine. The Asantes of Ghana remain visionary, brave, and business-minded, deeply rooted in their traditions and culture. Their rich heritage is celebrated worldwide, making them a proud symbol of resilience and unity. Thanks to their steadfast adherence to their values, the Asante culture is renowned globally. Thank you for watching Black Stories Untold. Please share where you are watching from, and if you are a Ghanaian from the Asante region, share your name with us. Don't forget to comment, share and subscribe for more incredible tales of courage and heritage.
After